This is cool. I think I might use this. All right. Okay. Now for the updates. So this year's going to be fun. There's a lot of things happening, a lot of things bubbling underneath the surface. I haven't written any original work in a while, and I feel the need to do it very, very strongly. So I thought I'd go through a short list of the projects that I have planned, and to let you guys know, my patron people on Patreon, how you can be helpful, how you're going to get super exclusive gifty kind of things, and how it's just a good idea to be a continued part of this community, because I'm going to be giving more and more stuff as the months go. So that's my plan. First off, the second season of In a Certain Kingdom, the podcast where I retell, at this point, only Russian fairy tales, but we will be delving into other Slavic traditions soon. The second season is going to launch probably either the last week of February or the first week of March. My lovely composer slash producer slash person who does everything except actually tell the stories, Natalie Wilson, is going to be coming on Patreon for a live get-together on AirMeet on this platform, where we're going to chat about the process, about what she did, about how she comes up with her interesting ideas, just kind of talk about the background, an insider's inside the studio look into how the podcast is even made. And we're going to share some, at that point, we're going to share some of the new music that she's composed. For season 1, she only had about 10 little bits of music, so there was a lot of repetition. This time around, I think she made around 40, something like that. So it's going to be almost entirely completely scored. There's going to be hardly any silences at all during the story sections of the podcast, and the music is going to be more varied. And we are both learning, it's an ongoing process, but we are both learning how to get the levels exactly right so that my voice is never completely overwhelmed by the music. Even though I don't care, I can sit and listen to the music for ages. So that's going to be exciting. It's going to be on February 16th at 3 p.m. Eastern time. So I'm going to send out a notification to my Patreon people probably early next week as a reminder, but keep that in your calendars. So I have now decided that we are ready to move forward with the audiobooks for Raven's Son series books 4 and 5. Those are going to be recorded over the next few months, and they're going to be mastered and produced. Дорогой, у меня сейчас session. Закрой дверь, пожалуйста. COVID world. Everybody is allowed to have children come in during recordings, which is great. I much prefer it that way. Let's just keep it that way. So recordings of audiobooks 4 and 5 are going to be happening soon, and they're going to be mastered and produced soon after the soon. So I hope to have the entire series, Raven Sun series, in audio ready by September or October of this year. That's really exciting. And by the way, you dear Patreon supporters are helping me make that a reality, because the amount of money I get from Patreon frees me up to do things that increase, free me up to do things like write new books and record new courses and produce new material, all of which then ends up giving me more freedom financially to do the right thing and pay the professionals to do what they do best, like John Payton, my wonderful narrator. And Natalie is going to be producing the audiobooks for books 4 and 5. So that's going to be really exciting. After that, we have what I'm going to call the laboratory within Patreon. I'm going to be sharing either first chapters or short stories within 3 new fictional universes. And one of them is going to be the novelization of my screenplay for St. Olga of Kiev's life. That's my next project. I'm going to write a few chapters of that and send them to you. After that, I'm going to share a science fiction project with you all. And after that, I'm going to share a new fantasy project that's going to be something like sort of the Jedis of the High Republic and the Silmarillion meshed together. It's going to be more geared towards, slightly more geared towards young adult, meaning the protagonist is going to be younger than Voron in the Raven Sun series. So those three, and perhaps another series, which is going to be a fantasy version of the Cossack culture. But that's going to take a little more time because I really want to get into the research on that, and to really come up with a new and interesting premise, which I don't really have yet. Where you all come in, my dear patrons, is that I'm going to share those excerpts, and you're going to tell me which one I should do after I've shared them, and I'm going to put them up on a poll, and you all are going to decide which one I'm going to flesh out first. I want you all to be involved. I want you all to tell me which one is the most interesting. Sometimes we creators are not the best suited to let you to know which ones are going to be the most exciting for our audience. So this is a real opportunity for you all to get involved. So that's happening next. Then we have in March, I'm going to have Benedict Sheehan and probably his wife Talia as well come on for a Q&A, where we're going to be talking about the massive project that we're working on right now. It's called Akathist, a Myth for the New World. This is a crazy, insane project that we're doing. Basically, Benedict was given a commission to write a full-length classical music piece that would involve full choir and also narration of some sort. And we got together and had a powwow of it took us about 2 or 3 days to get through to the actual idea. Creation happening spontaneously, collaboration and creation happened spontaneously. It was really amazing. Where we decided that basically what we need to do is to tell a new myth for America. Because American mythology stinks right now, and the best we can do is Marvel, and Marvel is not very good when it comes to mythologizing. And so many people have lost any sort of connection with mythical or archetypal storytelling. So we're going to do that. We're going to give them a fully immersive audio, musical, narrative storytelling experience. And I'm writing the libretto for it. I'm writing the story. The story is amazing. It's a collaborative effort. The actual story arc was a collaborative effort, but I'm doing the actual writing. I've heard some of the music that Benedict has already composed. It sends chills down my spine. It is some of the most beautiful stuff I've ever seen. This is going to be like nothing anybody's ever heard. I don't even know what to call it. It kind of defies convention. So either it's going to be a complete disaster, it's going to be something just transcendent, and I'm hoping obviously for the latter. So that's happening next. We're also going to have a few other interview subjects. So the Q&A format within Patreon proper is something that we're going to be doing more and more of. In March, I'm going to have Vesper Stamper over for an interview. Vesper is an author, illustrator, all-around creative and artist, very talented artist, just all-around super creative person, who also has her own podcast. She has her own Patreon page, which I do recommend that you guys check out. She is a patron of my Patreon as well, which I'm very honored to be. And sorry for the exuberance outside. We're going to talk about the artistic worldview. She has a really interesting podcast called Vesperisms, where she breaks it down in great detail, and we're going to get together and talk about what that might mean for our time. My youngest had a very long nap, as you can hear. Anyway, I hope you all don't mind. In addition to that, we are going to be... sorry, I lost my train of thought there for a second. There's a lot of projects along the way. I'm still continuing my translations throughout the year. I have 3 translation projects that I'm working on. They are going to take me the entire year. So that's something that's always going on in the background. And, oh yes, our new book for the book club is going to be Beowulf, but I only agreed to do Beowulf if we combined it with the reading of a book called The Wake by Paul Kingsnorth. Now, Paul Kingsnorth is a really interesting young author who used to be a rabid environmentalist. And perhaps I'm not using the right adjective there. He's still environmentally minded. But he's somebody who, as a lot of people in my generation, are searchers for meaning and searchers for truth. And he has in his own circuitous way, come to a very interesting place that I want to talk to him about. And The Wake, his novel, is book one of a 3-book series that explores collapse of civilization, which I think is very appropriate for now. And it fits very well with Beowulf, because Beowulf is also a story about the collapse of civilization. Also, it's appropriate because he wrote it in a fake dialect of Anglo-Saxon that he imagines people might have been speaking right around the time of the invasion of the Normans in 1066. So this is a book about guerrilla fighters in Derbyshire trying to hold off the Normans, trying to hold on to the authentic Anglo-Saxon experience as they're being taken over by the French. For all of you who are lovers of the Lord of the Rings and Tolkien stuff in general, this is something that's going to be very interesting to you. You must join us for the live sessions that we have to talk about Beowulf. And I'm actually in communication with Paul Kingsnorth, and I'm going to invite him to speak to us in the Patreon community exclusively. I'm not going to make that conversation public. I think it's going to be only within Patreon. So those of you who are watching this on YouTube after I've had this live session, now is a good time to consider joining us. You can just join the book club at the level of $2 per month, and there are plenty of other things that you could receive if you like, if you join at the higher tiers. I will take this short opportunity also to remind you all that I have 2 slots available for personalized story coaching, where I give one-on-one hour-long sessions 12 times a year, once a month. And we get to work on your project in a very intimate, specific setting. And you basically have my attention live for an hour a month, but also you have unlimited back and forth feedback from me on your manuscript. There are only 2 sessions available for this because it's kind of expensive, and because I want to give a lot of individualized attention to those who want my brain when it comes to carving something out and creating something specific. I also have unlimited slots in the tier that's slightly below that one, where you meet with me one-on-one 6 times a year, and then that's once every 2 months. And in the intervening months, you have a special Q&A with me that is exclusively for the higher level patrons. So that's something you might want to look at as well. I'm also looking at merch options as gifts. So I'm thinking of going into the loyalty program. Patreon has a loyalty program a merch loyalty program built in. And basically, after you've reached a certain level of loyalty, meaning you've been my patron for a certain number of months, you automatically get a gift. They have 4 options. I'm looking at which ones we might use, but the artwork for it is going to be brand new and exclusive. And all this to say that the last and most perhaps exciting thing that I can unofficially announce is that I'm going to be doing a collaboration with a very, very good illustrator. I'm not going to say who it is because it's not official yet, on a hardcover, fully illustrated book of Russian fairy tales that we're going to be kickstarting in next year. But in the meantime, this wonderful artist, I can't wait for you to see her work, is going to be doing some character artwork from the Raven Sun series, and that's going to be going on merch. So only available for patrons, and only available for patrons after they've been loyal to me for a certain number of months, a loyalty program. So that's something to look forward to. Plenty of things happening, and I haven't even told you about the secret project that is gestating at the moment, but it could be something that is going to blow your mind even more than all the things that I said already. So things are happening. There's a lot of fertile ground to be sown, and I think there's going to be a lot of pretty green shoots coming up through the snowy soil, and spring is going to come early this year, people. I guarantee it. So that's what I wanted to say. Short little intro. Short little update. And it looks like this new program that I'm using for streaming is working fine. So those of you who are here right now, Brianna and Julie, if you're still here, could you let me know if there were any issues with streaming during my blah, 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 blab session? Just let me know in the chat. Or was it pretty standard throughout? If you're still there, of course. Okay, cool. All right, looks like this is a good choice to use this particular software. Now, the real trick is to see how many people it will accommodate. And if we have a large group, it might start making things a little bit complicated, but we'll see. Okay, everybody. Thank you, Julie and Brianna, for coming live. And those of you who are watching it afterwards, keep an eye out for updates like this in your Patreon inbox. We're going to be doing them more often, and I'm going to be trying out different subjects. So I'm going to do live sessions that have to do with writer tips. I'm going to do some that go into more cultural criticism. I'm going to try different things, see what you guys like. Hopefully it'll give us all new ideas in what to create in the future. Because like I said, this Patreon community of ours should be a collaborative effort, not simply me blabbing into a camera. Okay, that's it for me for today. And thanks everybody, and I'll see you next time.